Well, this one is alive. We'll want to watch it, but it's in a position where it's likely that it could very well still be alive. It looks like it's adjusting its tail slightly. In the shallows, though, and very unusual behavior for an animal to be just sitting idle like this. This is absolutely unusual, and I'm wondering if it isn't even ill.
Listen closely. You can hear this whale crying out, and it appears stranded in the shallow waters of Dungeness Spit.
He's come all the way in the Dungeness Spit right into the shallows and pretty lethargic at this point. I don't think that he's on the bottom on his belly, but I do think that his pectoral fins are probably firmly on the ground down below. There is a dead female that is about a mile up the shoreline that we saw from the air as we arrived, and she's lying there dead in the shallows of the bay near the estuary mouth. So I suspect that they're related, and I suspect that he's either in mourning or just discombobulated as to what to do next.
I'm Steve Rabel.
And I'm Susan Hutchison, starting now on KIRO 7 Eyewitness News.
Live in-depth coverage of a stranded orca in Northwest waters and the desperate effort to save this whale after another dies. The saga of this whale is getting a lot of attention. Our in-depth coverage continues now with KIRO 7 Eyewitness News reporter Kyle Moore to show you.
This whale rescue has become some sort of tourist attraction, with people crowding up on the cliffs to get the best view of the whale rescue effort. It was the most popular site in the northern Olympic Peninsula today.
It's sad to see.
Dozens upon dozens of looky-loos, armed with binoculars and cameras, stopped by the water's edge near Squim to get a rare sight of an orca whale struggling to survive.
We've seen orcas on the inside before, but not in distress like that.
Everything looked great, and a lot of people that were here went ahead and left because it was way out here, and then sure enough it broke loose and headed right back and right towards the spit.
Jeannie Pumphrey is studying marine biology. She brought her video camera along to capture the life and death struggle. The student hopes the whale survives.
I think it's great. I think it's a very worthwhile effort. We don't have enough orcas left. I think to save even one is a great idea.
The tug-of-war between the whale rescuers and the orca lasted for most of the day. Curious onlookers spent hours chasing the creature from one vantage point to the next.
They're just wonderful to watch if you've ever seen them. You just don't forget that. That stays in your mind, and you want to see them again and again.
Local residents didn't seem to mind the extra traffic or the cars parked in front of their waterfront homes. The Northwest hospitality was evident. The locals were more worried about the whale's survival than anything else.
I just think it's part of the Northwest that, it's one of God's creations, and you hope that he'll survive.
Many of these looky-loos are bringing their cameras and binoculars, hoping to get the best view of a rare sighting, a sight of an orca whale. Reporting near Squim, Kyle Moore, KIRO 7 Eyewitness News.
Our in-depth coverage continues now with a few more details. Whale experts say these two orcas are transients in the Strait of Juan de Fuca from a larger Pacific population. They were probably hunting for seals, in contrast to the Puget Sound's resident orcas, which feed on salmon.
Tonight you see it only on KIRO 7 Eyewitness News as Chopper 7 shows you the rescue of that orca whale that's repeatedly beached itself this week. Our in-depth coverage now includes reporter Chris Lagueros with the fascinating pictures that we caught on videotape, and Allison Grandy investigates why these whales keep beaching themselves. First to Chris, live at Dungeness Spit near Squim, and the big break in this story. Chris?
Tell you, Steve, the scientists and researchers who rescued this whale just pulled their boats up onto the beach about an hour ago, and they are all smiles tonight.
But right now, just as if on cue here, live television, they are now starting their most recent attempt to move the whale.
Chopper 7 was the only news helicopter in the air this noon as scientists freed a stranded orca.
You can probably see they've tied some sort of buoys onto the tail fluke of the whale.
Pilot Clark Stahl pointing out some new tactics to move this 8,000 to 10,000 pound beast. The whale's body churning up the muddy bottom as a boat pulled him out of Dungeness Bay.
Yeah, I've been saying my prayers. I don't have any problems praying for animals, especially magnificent ones like this.
Cars jam Marine Drive on the bluff overlooking the water. People pulling out binoculars and cameras as the whale was pulled more than 5 miles around the end of Dungeness Spit.
Oh, I just hope he gets out there and gets free. I really do. It's a beautiful animal.
The floats on the whale's fluke were released before he rounded the spit, and once in open water, they stopped towing him. He took off, still wearing the harness that had hauled him here.
It's not tied to him in any way. He's actually just got it in his pecs. So I think at some point when he does slow down or move around, it's slowly working its way out. So
whale researchers like Kelley Balcomb-Bartok were just overjoyed they could help this creature out.
He's going due west at this point. Pretty much looking real good, real steady breathing. It's excellent. So we're real happy about it.
We asked these researchers what they did differently today. They said they put this harness on a little differently. They towed the whale a little bit faster, put those floats on the fluke, and all of it added up to success. Reporting live near Squim, Chris Lagares, KIRO 7 Eyewitness News.
Success, Chris, but it was a long haul to try to save this whale. Let's give you some perspective now, and you get this again only from Chopper 7, starting with the boats and the Orca well out into the Strait of Juan de Fuca. But when the chopper now pulls out to give you the wide view, you see just how far this rescue attempt goes. The crew towed the Orca all that way back around to the other side of Dungeness Spit.
What could be causing these whales to beach themselves over and over again? It appears to be happening more often, and whale experts are worried. Our live in-depth coverage continues with KIRO 7 Eyewitness News reporter Allison Grandy, who joins us live from the Seattle waterfront.
Susan, with the dwindling orca population, local experts are determined to learn from the death of one orca and today's attempt to save another.
The female stranded along this shore. The male has been within the Dungeness National Wildlife Refuge over here.
Fred Fellman moved to the Pacific Northwest 20 years ago to study killer whales.
Having killer whales in my backyard, I think, is the best thing imaginable. To have two more down is deeply distressing.
Both are transient whales. They don't live in Washington waters, only move through. Resident whales eat lower on the food chain, mostly salmon. Transient whales eat mostly seals and sea lions, higher on the food chain, therefore consuming a diet higher in toxins. Researchers say twice as high. Scientists are trying to determine what killed the female whale.
She had a stomach full of harbor seals, and so she was feeding right up to the end.
We won't know the final cause of death for some time.
But Fellman has his suspicions. He believes toxins, lack of food, and possible naval activity are to blame.
We have the reduced fish prey, with causing the PCBs to become freed up in their blubber, and the increased noise in the water, making the few fish that are out there harder to detect. So this entire zone here is a naval operating area.
The U.S. Navy recently acknowledged that sonar could be powerful enough to damage whales' ears and brains, causing them to become disoriented. Sonar likely played a role in the beaching of 16 whales in the Bahamas in March 2000. Now, with that possibility, Fellman, along with the Orca Conservancy and the Earth Island Institute, they sent a letter to the U.S. Navy asking what kind of operations and activities took place in the Strait of Juan de Fuca in the last 10 days. Fellman is very eager to get a response back from the Navy. Live along the waterfront, Allison Grandy, KIRO 7 Eyewitness News.
And our in-depth coverage continues now with a few more details. Rescuers will continue to monitor the whale for the next few days. He's wearing a transmitter on his back so he can be easily located. And they believe this is a transient orca, as you've heard, not a member of the Puget Sound's resident J, K, and L pods. Well, it wasn't as dramatic as the movie Free Willy, but it was pretty close. After 2 days of failures, a stranded whale has been rescued from Dungeness Bay. The successful rescue played out this afternoon, and only Chopper 70 is over the action with the pictures. KIRO 7 Eyewitness News reporter Chris Lagares joins us live now near Squim with the story.
I'll tell you, quite a drama unfolding here over the last 3 days. Many of the locals wondering whether this whale would ever get out of the bay alive. Their question answered this afternoon.
Here, you can probably see they've tied some sort of buoys onto the tail fluke of the whale.
Chopper 7 was the only news helicopter in the air as rescue teams pull this killer whale out of Dungeness Bay. Its 8,000 to 10,000 pound body churning up the muddy bottom as dozens of people watched on shore.
Oh, I just hope he gets out there and gets free. I really do.
Fantastic, yeah. That's the way the world ought to work.
Previous attempts to tow the orca to open water failed because he kept slipping out of his harness once he reached deeper water. This time, rescuers attached those lines differently and pulled a little faster, hauling the whale all the way around the 5-mile spit to make sure he didn't backtrack to the beach.
It feels great, actually. It was really a thrill.
Kelley Balcomb-Bartok is one of the whale researchers who didn't give up on this orca.
and he started swimming on his own. He's going due west at this point. Pretty much looking real good, real steady breathing. It's excellent, so we're real happy about it.
You may have noticed that whale got away still wearing part of the harness on its back. We are told that is not tied on and will eventually slip off as that whale continues to swim away. Reporting live near Sequim, Chris Lagares, KIRO 7 Eyewitness News.
Chris, thanks. We've got some more details on this story now. A second whale was also found near Sequim, but that female orca was dead. Biologists are conducting a necropsy to look for a cause of death. These two transient whales primarily eat seals and sea lions, which have a high concentration of toxins. Local whale experts think it could be these toxins stored for years in the whale's blubber that could now be making them sick.
Their body is thinner, and that while it was kept in their blubber in an inert form, now that they're feeding off of themselves because of the reduced fish populations, this is causing them to be more exposed to this pollution that they've been carrying around with them.
Fred Fellman thinks naval activity in Washington waters could be creating noise that is also harming the whales. He's asking the Navy to disclose activity in the Strait of Juan de Fuca over the past 10 days.
I'm Kevin McCarty. A trapped killer whale is free tonight, but did the Navy play a role in these mysterious beachings?
KIRO 7 Eyewitness News 11 at 11 begins right now.
I'm Kevin McCarty, live in Sequim, where a trapped killer whale is finally free tonight. I'll show you dramatic pictures of that rescue and some troubling questions about why this happened. That's next on KIRO 7 Eyewitness News.
New tactics and a new leash on life. Chopper 7 brings you the pictures. The orca, stranded in Dungeness Bay after repeatedly beaching itself, is towed to freedom. That killer whale stranded near Sequim is finally free tonight.
But now researchers are trying to find out if humans play a role in the mysterious beachings. One whale died, another spent 3 days stranded in Dungeness Bay before the rescuers were finally able to drag him out to sea. Reporter Kevin McCarty joins us now with the incredible story. Kevin?
And Susan, it was a rescue that it was as dramatic as it was beautiful. That team finally got to watch that 5-ton killer whale swimming free. But the rescue took a lot of effort, and it almost didn't work. Biologists wrestle with a 10,000-pound orca, trying desperately to save him. For 3 days, the big killer whale had continually beached himself in the shallow water of Dungeness Bay, and rescuers knew this was probably their last chance.
We definitely felt that it was important to get him off the beach as fast as possible now to sea, and I think we were all a bit pessimistic about his prospects had he had to spend another night on the beach.
The whale's mate, this female, died while beached in the bay. So as Chopper 7 recorded the rescue, the team attached floats, ropes, and finally started pulling the orca to deep water.
As soon as they put him under tow, he seems to want to roll out of that harness affair that they've got around him, and then he immediately swims back to the beach.
But this time, the effort works. The whale swims with the boats as he's taken out to the Strait of Juan de Fuca and freed him.
But that good news is he's out and he's free and looking good.
But researchers still don't know why this whale kept beaching himself and why his mate died. One suspect, Navy sonar, responsible for the beaching of 16 whales in the Bahamas last year. Now scientists will look into naval operations to see if that may have played a role.
It's a simple letter to the federal government asking for a description of the Navy's operations in the Strait of Juan de Fuca over the past 10 days.
Researchers say what they'll do is file a Freedom of Information Act request trying to find out what the Navy may have been doing in this area. This is a zone where the Navy tests sonar, but that's highly classified work. They may not find out anything, and in the end, scientists say no one may be to blame for these mysterious beachings. Reporting live in Sequim, Kevin McCarty, KIRO 7 Eyewitness News.
We've uncovered a few more details in this story. A second whale was also found near Sequim, but the female orca was dead. Biologists are conducting a necropsy to look for a cause of death. These two transient whales primarily eat seals and sea lions, which have a high concentration of toxins, and local whale experts think it could be these toxins stored for years in the whale's blubber that could now be making them sick.